G'day everyone. Here we are, Brad Houston with Filmmakers, episode number 7. So we're here with Hayley MacFarlane, and she is an Aussie director, filmmaker, storyteller. She's got a pretty exciting story to tell, or exciting from my perspective. She's a local Queenslander. She, I guess, had some good success with some short films early on in the piece, and then quite an extensive career in the reality TV space and with commercials as well, in the production company Two Little Indians. So she has worked on series such as Love Island, UK and Australia, I believe. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, which is hugely popular and very popular here in my house. So I'm excited to talk a bit about that. And then most recently, her debut feature film, Swimming for Gold, which is in cinemas at the moment. So that's really exciting. And I believe also they've just had a TV series, Dive Club, which is now, I believe, going to be featuring on Netflix in the coming year or so. So very exciting times. So I'm keen to talk to her about what it's all been like, and I guess transitioning from doing short film and reality TV to then shooting her first feature, and what that experience was like. So we will talk with her in just a moment. Hey, Haley, how are you?
Hi, good, thanks, Brad. How are you?
Yeah, good. I've just noticed that your fluffy kind of plant feature there in the background kind of matches the pink the pink colours. So nice and colour coordinated.
I'm trying to get rid of that actually. It's
Are you?
it's on its way out the door.
What is it?
It's just pampas grass, but it's quite ugly actually. So I'm done with it.
You've had your time with that. Fair enough. So, look, hopefully I got that introduction relatively accurate. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you've essentially been in the business now for pretty much going on 8 years. Is that correct? You sort of started in 2012?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. Okay. And you went through the traditional route doing film school before, getting started doing short films and what have you?
Yeah, exactly. So I grew up in Cairns, and then I moved to Brisbane to go to film school, and I went to Griffith Film School for 3 years, and then went straight into the industry.
Yeah, nice. So now that you've been, I guess, in the industry for quite a while and have achieved quite a bit, what's your opinion? I'm always interested to know when people have been to film school, where they sit now. Do you think it's a good idea, a good avenue, or do you think nowadays people don't really need to go to film school? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question, and I think it depends on what you want to do. As you know, as a director, I think it's really useful because basically I'm able to go and like I shot some films, I shot some music videos. It meant that I was able to leave film school with a show reel. But for people that want to do different things, like if you want to be a grip or a gaffer or something like that, I think if you can get work in the industry, then you're probably better off doing that than paying the uni fees that we all forget we have to actually pay back. So I think it
Yeah,
does depend on what role you want to go down,
yeah.
and if you have the opportunity to start working in the industry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do. I really like the idea of, I guess, coming through, having a bit of a slate of sorts, and what I seem to get the feedback from people, and I guess tuning to podcasts and other things like that from here and overseas is probably the connections and the friendships, and so you've got other like-minded people that you can potentially, lure into helping you make your make your dreams come true. And did you always think that directing was the path that you wanted to go down? What was your thought there?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really know when I started at film school. I did the first year sort of feeling out what all the roles were. I was really fresh. I didn't really know. But I think my personality, I kind of like to be the one calling the shots. I don't like to be told what to do. So very quickly, I kind of gravitated towards directing for that reason.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting. I think it's almost an exercise in self-awareness, right? To try and figure out, are you going to be someone who's happy, I guess having somebody else essentially telling you what to do, or do you want to be the one that's ultimately in charge? Yeah. So, I mean, in the beginning, what was the very first role that you had
At film school,
out of film school? So,
yeah.
what was your first kind of commercial
Um,
role?
yeah, so when I was probably second and third year, I started working um, in the industry and just as a runner, just as
Hmm.
an absolute shit kicker, earning no money, doing jobs for free, just loving to be on set and meeting crew and getting that experience. So
Yeah.
I definitely did my time.
Yeah, yeah. I think, and so um, I think with another plus in my perspective, as someone who's tried to have a crack at getting in, late in my or later in my career, is when you're younger, you maybe have like a little bit more ability to do that sort of thing, right? You might not have all of the overheads that you kind of amass by the time that you're kind of hitting your middle age years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, from there, what was, I guess, the first big break for you? What was the first role that you had that you kind of thought, okay, this is getting exciting. I kind of really feel like I'm heading in the right direction now.
Yeah, so I stayed in Brisbane for about a year after film school, and then my partner and I moved to London. And it took me a while to get work. I probably didn't have work for 3 or 4 months there, and I was like, shit, what am I doing? Is this the right place for me? I really don't want to end up working in a bar. Um, and it was sort of right when push came to shove about having to make a decision how I was going to earn money over there. I went for an interview for Big Brother UK as a director, and I managed to get the job. So that was sort of my first, like, right, I'm directing, I'm in the industry, sort of the first door that opened for me.
Nice. Yeah, Big Brother. And then, and I guess that probably, was a large part of what set you up for those follow-on roles in that reality space. Is that kind of essentially how it happened? You sort of flowed from one thing into the next, into say Love Island, or was that Survival of the Fittest that was next?
Yeah, so I guess it's always trying to get that first door opened. So getting that job as a director on Big Brother UK really opened doors for me. And I didn't necessarily go, oh, I want to be a reality director. Um, but it was definitely something that excited me. So once I was sort of, that door was open and I was kind of in, the jobs just sort of kept coming then. And I was able to sort of do reality show after reality show. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And were you in a like producer roles, or what kind of roles? I know that you were directed many series, but in the beginning stage, what kind of position were you in there?
Yeah, so I was lucky to pretty much go straight into directing.
Oh, awesome.
Um, I will say I did Big Brother Australia before I moved to London. So I understood the format. I'd watched what the directors do because I was in the same room as them. And I think that did then set me up and allowed me to have a good interview to then get the job because I understood the show and the ins and outs of it and what the director actually did.
Yeah. So, what would you say was the core, a capability or thing that they were looking for in someone to take on that sort of role, and has it changed to today for other people who I guess may be wanting to perhaps head in that direction?
I think with reality, we're basically like in a control room. where it's really high intensity. There's producers on a back row sort of yelling at you, and if we miss something, you miss it. Like there's no going back. So it's quite a high intensity role. So I think you have to have confidence. You have to be able to just get it done and not sort of panic. And sometimes directors do. It's kind of all too much and they can't process it. And I would say that they're not necessarily the right directors for reality because of that high intensity. So that's definitely something that series directors in reality always look for, and something that I think is really important for reality directors to have that confidence and be able to perform well under pressure.
Yeah, I can imagine. Sometimes, or regularly, pretty much daily, I question my sanity for undertaking this live streaming carry on. I mean, it is a lot of fun. I do kind of like sort of, I guess, putting myself into situations where I kind of have to be on, I guess, and focus. But there's quite a lot of technical pitfalls. Like, I mean, I just bought this bloody $300 capture card that I thought was going to help to iron out some of the little gremlins I've got happening with the audio. And I just can't even get it working today. And I'm like, okay, well, that might be going back to JB Hi-Fi, or there's going to be some more time spent. But yeah, I totally get the whole concept of either getting something or not, versus having the opportunity to have multiple takes and that sort of thing. So Love Island. I mean, Love Island's a pretty it's kind of more steamy, a bit more saucy, I suppose, than the other shows. How did you find that experience?
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty focused, I guess, on people hooking up and all that sort of stuff, which, I mean, sometimes, look, to be honest, we just kind of flick their mics off because you're listening to them for like 10 hours a day and they're just talking junk. So it's got its moments. There's definitely like really exciting times, and there's when things kick off and you want to make sure you don't miss anything. And that's kind of like when you get the adrenaline rush and it's go, 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 and that's great. And then, there's a lot of times where they're just sunbaking by a pool and they're sleeping because they've been up all night, and it can be quite boring. So it's got its ups and downs, I would say.
Yeah. Did you sort of feel like you're, like at an adult zoo, kind of watching the animals?
Yeah, well, it is, it's kind of like for us, it's sort of going back to those Big Brother days where it is actually an experiment. It's you're watching how people behave and why they behave the way they do, and the whole social experiment side of it is actually really interesting. And that's something, getting to watch people for 10 hours a day, you do learn about that. And that's kind of a part of the job that I love. I do find that quite interesting to see how people get paranoid when they've got nothing else to worry about, and the sense of loneliness when they can't talk to their family, and just sort of all that stuff. And you sort of realize how similar we all are as human beings.
Yeah. I aside from the fact that I hate studying, I've often thought that psychology would be really interesting because I find people fascinating and the way that we all think, and I observe some of my own behaviour and decision making at times, and I'm at as much of a loss as anybody else to understand what the hell is going on. And somehow my wife has stayed with me all these years, but yeah, it's a little bit crazy. Talk to me about your short films, because I haven't seen Hummingbirds yet, but I watched Growing Young and I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it, and I could see, like, looking at your website, and anybody wanting to check it out, it's Hayley MacFarlane, spelt with an M-A-C, MacFarlane.com. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Just .com, yeah. And you can go and have a look at some of the commercial work she's done, and then the narrative work, and see some of the shorts, and also on her Vimeo profile. So I watched Growing Young on Vimeo this morning, and I thought it was great. I noticed that there were lots of investors listed on there, and quite a few organisations. So I'm always interested in finding out how people manage to pull these things together, because money's always a challenge, and particularly at the beginning phases. So how did you, I guess, get that all together? Were you responsible for, I guess, getting all those different organisations like the Alzheimer's Trust or whatever or organisation involved, or who coordinated that sort of side of things?
Yeah, so that was our first short film out of film school. So it was kind of the first time we were like, shit, how do we fund this? Like, how do we make a short film now? Like, we need to hire equipment, we need to like pay the crew something, we need to pay the actors. So it was sort of the first time we went down that road. And I had a producer that I worked with for all my content at film school, James Woods. He and I are close friends. And so he produced the short film for me. And basically, because the film is about dementia, we sort of thought, I wonder if we can get one of these organizations on board. They might be interested to help raise awareness. And they were really responsive. They were really helpful. They were really on board. They loved the script. And so they ended up funding some of their I guess like the money they had aside to help create awareness around dementia. They have a certain budget every year for that. So they were able to give us a little bit to help us sort of make the film. And then we sort of self-funded the rest of it, which is, I guess, what filmmakers do all the time. It's just part and parcel of trying to get short films made.
Yeah. So are you comfortable to share what the sort of budget was that you ended up working with?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always happy to talk about it. I'm just trying to remember because it was so long ago. I think it was like, we shot it 6 years ago or something. I want to say it was maybe 15 grand. We did it for like nothing.
Yeah.
It was really low budget.
Was a lot of that the equipment side of things as opposed to wages?
Yeah, so we had we used my granddad's house, so we had 3 locations. We paid the actors. I think we paid them minimum wage, but we didn't pay them. And the crew, I think it was then just crew and sort of equipment. And everyone did it for like, next to nothing. Which is the only way these things kind of get made is to have those, like, crew are amazing. Like, they're so supportive. Like, to have the grips and gaffers come out, give us a weekend for pretty much no money is something I'll always be grateful for.
Yeah, awesome. And is that the time spent? You shot it all in one weekend?
I think so. I think it was a 2-day shoot from memory.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. And how many of those people from, I guess, those early days have you continued to work with or reconnected with and worked with again down the line?
Yeah, it's a funny industry actually. People are sort of still around. I still work with a lot of the same people when I do commercials. But now moving into, obviously, reality is a whole different kettle of fish when it comes to crew. And then drama's the same. It's some people do cross over and do both, and that's great, and it's good to be able to do that. But then there's a lot of people that won't, because people that work in the commercial space, what they earn on a 2-day commercial, will take them a week to earn on a drama. So sometimes, it's not smart for them to do long form. So that's sort of something that I've kind of learnt over the last few years. I wasn't really aware of the way the crews kind of work like that. But I always love to work with the same people if I can. It's nice to like come back together and you form a bit of a family, and also you form a bit of trust. You want to be able to trust the crew that you're working with. So it's always nice to use the same people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if it's just one of those stories that gets told, but I believe that Steven Spielberg has worked with the same people pretty much the whole way through. So you can imagine, I guess how much smoother that would help to make things run, because there's, everybody does things in a certain way and a certain rhythm. So I guess having everybody knowing the nuances of that would be helpful, and having the comfort to know that people have got those sorts of things covered, particularly at a director level. I mean, I haven't directed anything yet besides my own commercial projects, and I don't know if you could call that directing. I mean, I got up to the lofty heights of being able to hire a couple of people to help with lighting and be a second camera, and had a grip/sound guy, just before the whole coronavirus kind of came in and just smashed things, and I was like, oh, okay, that's like I was like struggling for survival, like just a poor little like duck with a broken wing, for about a year, and then Corona just was like boom. And in some ways, I was sort of almost grateful because it was a big struggle already. So at least, and I was already working from home, so my wife and I, in some ways, feel like we just kind of rolled from one kind of strenuous situation into another. But since I've transitioned and started to focus on launching Flix for Good, actually, it's been really exciting, and I've met some really great people. It's just trying to do it all by myself at the moment has been hard, but we'll get there. So let's talk about actually. Before we get into I guess transitioning to do feature, I do need to, especially for my wife and daughter's sake, spend a bit of time talking about I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, because they love it, and I've got to admit, like I hadn't watched a lot of it, and then because they were watching it all the time, and it's nice just to watch something together, then I was sort of I got into it, but I thought it was really, really well done. So congratulations on those. I believe you worked on series 3 and 5. Is that right?
I've done 2 of the UK seasons and 2 of the Aussie seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. And looks like you got to go to some amazing places in Africa. I was having a little scroll through your Instagram earlier. In fact, I've got it here, and it was spectacular, I guess, and that's one advantage from some of these. I'm assuming largely it's come to be because of some of the shows that you've worked on. The travel, or you love travel, you just yourself anyway.
I mean, I do travel a lot anyway, but that's the one thing that's great about reality TV is like so much of it is shot overseas. So, Love Island UK has taken me to Cape Town as well as Spain. Love Island Australia was shot in Spain as well. I'm a Celeb. UK shoots out the Gold Coast. The Australian one shoots over in Africa. It's great. We get to travel a lot. Yeah, that's Celeb in Africa.
I love this one. I popped this onto the cover picture.
Yeah.
That looks amazing.
It's stunning. Yeah, it's such a beautiful location. It's really nice set up too with the crew. We basically have like an entire resort sort of thing to ourselves, and we have kind of self-contained houses on that show. So it's quite enjoyable, and sometimes you get stuck in shitty hotels, so it makes a difference when you're away for 2 months at a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a real giraffe.
Amazing. It's a real giraffe, yeah. It's sort
what the heck? This is in someone's house.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? I mean, it's I feel conflicted with that because it's beautiful, but it's obviously, who knows. This is funny because and there are more, and I did include one. You might have noticed the handstands. So I was going through and I was like, oh, there's kind of a reoccurring theme. Here we go of these handstands, which I thought was particularly interesting because I had another show running. At one stage, I was running 5 different shows per week, so a different show each day. And needless to say, that was madness. And I just decided, okay, I'm going to pair it back to Filmmakers because I love filmmaking and it ties into what I'm looking to do with Flix for Good, in that streaming space, of course. And then Changemakers because the ultimate goal of Flix for Good is to raise money and awareness for different causes. And Mondays at Moths because that's just my local community. But I had another show going called Tangent Tuesday. And on Tangent Tuesday, I basically just interviewed people I found like who I thought were kind of really interesting sort of characters, and I came across this girl, and she does all of these sort of handstand type things on the beach. So she does these beautiful pictures with like the sunrise coming up, and she's doing these crazy handstands. And she's got the handle gorilla puncher, which is just so odd because she looks, like a yoga fitness person, and then
Yeah.
she's meanwhile she's a gorilla puncher. So now this here, was this I guess
So
kind of
that's
where
Love
you were
Island.
for Love Island?
Yeah, so that
Wow.
was in Spain. I think I did the Aussie one, and then I rolled straight into the UK one. Actually, that was I don't know, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah. And you had your partner with you?
Yes and no. He doesn't
Yeah.
generally come, but so we were actually at a wedding. This is so funny because Instagram literally like it's a documentation of your life.
It is, yes.
So we were at a wedding in England. So I went straight to Spain. No, then I flew. Sorry, this was a wild time. So we had a wedding in London, and then we had to fly to New Zealand for a wedding, and then there was actually about 3 crew members at this wedding, and we had to leave at 5 a.m. and get on this like 45-hour journey from New Zealand to Spain, all hungover from this wedding. It was an absolute nightmare.
Oh,
So he did end up coming over and sort of spending some time in Spain with me for that one, but generally he doesn't really come.
yeah.
It's boring for him because I'm working. He thinks I'm having fun all the time, but actually what he learned is that I work most days. It's, we do 6-day weeks when we're away, so it's not
Yeah.
always as fun as it looks.
No. And probably like there'd be 10, 12 hour days. Like what kind of days were you doing?
We're pretty lucky as directors. We generally stick to a 10-hour day. The producers
Okay.
have it a bit rough. They do much longer hours than we do. But yeah, we
Yeah.
10-hour days for us.
Yeah, nice. And looks like you get to do a little bit of sightseeing while you're there. Do they
Well, see,
incorporate
those
any of that?
zebras, they
Yeah,
were like
zebras.
they're literally out the front of our room where we stayed for Survival of the Fittest.
Amazing. That's
So
so
UK
beautiful.
show, yeah, that we that one we shot in 3 weeks and we didn't have
Yeah.
a day off. We all just worked 3.5 weeks straight.
3.5 weeks straight. Wow. Yeah. No, it's pretty awesome. What's been your favourite location so far that you've been to?
Good question. Um, I don't know. Probably Africa. I just love Africa. I'm mad
Loved
for it.
Africa.
I've
Yeah.
been there 6 years in a row, and I just can't get enough of it. So I
Yeah.
would probably say, yeah, Africa.
Nice. I did notice actually somewhere back here. I feel like we're just like prying into your private life here, but did you get engaged and married in the recent years?
Yeah, actually, it's my 1-year wedding anniversary next weekend.
Next weekend. Oh, congratulations!
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm sure I saw it looked like a proposal picture. I may have missed it.
Yeah, you were on it.
Top.
It's
Oh, there.
he
Here we go.
proposed in Malta on the
Wow,
cliffs.
that looks amazing. Good job.
Yeah.
And he looks like a bit of a character.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, which is good. I like that sort of thing. Yeah. So I mean, Dr. Chris, of course. All the ladies. He's up there on the scale. So I'm sure that was probably not a terrible experience. Getting to meet him. And I absolutely love Julia Morris. Did you get to spend much time with them?
To be honest, we don't really, because I direct the camp content. So
Right.
when they're in the camp, we do all that sort of stuff. And then there's another director that does the live shows with Chris and Julia, and he sort of deals with them on a daily basis. So,
Right.
I mean, they're walking around and plodding around, but we generally don't cross paths too much,
Didn't get to chat to them much.
which isn't really the answer you want, is it?
No, I guess not. But it's maybe it'll save people from feeling quite as jealous. Now, I mean, so doing the camp stuff with I'm a Celebrity, did that also involve the activities? So were you doing like the crazy, I'm in a pit with rats and snakes and stuff like that?
No, so that's another director as well. So basically the way it's set up is there's a director that will do the live shows, and that's the same person. And then there's a director that does like the challenges. And then there's about 5 or 6 of us that do the camp content. So it just depends on the show. Like when I did Survival of the Fittest, I was directing the live, like the evictions. And then the Love Island UK that I just did, I was doing the challenges. So doing a little bit of like in-house directing and then all of the challenges.
Yeah. What was the highlight out of the reality TV experience?
I would say the Love Island UK that I just shot actually in Africa was probably one of my favourites. And that's probably because of that, actually, because I got to do the all the challenges, and it's kind of takes you out of the dark control room that's pitch black and freezing cold, and kind of puts you on set more, which I enjoy. So yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, being out and about. Oh yeah, those challenges. It's just like that. Anything like those shows or Fear Factor. I don't even know whether Fear Factor's still running, but we used to watch a fair bit of it back in the day. And like I'm a real kind of, I don't know, adrenaline junkies may be overkill, but I do love experiences of all varieties pretty much, and I like extreme things. And I've done, like rock climbing and like, a variety of the extreme sports per se. So like when I see people doing stuff like that, where they're, I would love the like, doing the stuff like you're on a tightrope, like going across a canyon or something. But the stuff with all the animals like crawling on you, or maybe, but the drinking of the disgustingness, like that would be my Achilles heel, I think. I don't know that I can't see someone serving me like a thick shake made out of like testicles or something, and me just thinking, yes, like I'm just gonna knock this down.
I could not do it. It's not for me. They do actually with all of those. The crew test everything first. So the eating challenges and the physical challenges, it's crew that sort of nominate themselves to go and test those a few days before they're shot. So I would be keen to. I have tried to do the physical ones. I did do one of the physical ones on Celeb. I tried that, but the food eating ones, I just gag. Like watching them gag makes me gag.
Yeah, I imagine. How do they even know? Like whether it's? I mean, I'm hoping there's some sort of nutritionist or doctor who knows whether it's even safe to eat some of that stuff.
It's all very safety and regulated, and
they don't just go wander out in the field and lop some off and just bring it back.
Unfortunately not.
No. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about movies. So it's pretty exciting. I mean, because to me that was the direction, and who knows, I still kind of have part of me that thinks maybe one day, I'll still have a chance. I've got a sci-fi script I was writing and was going to enter in a competition that's on the wall over here, and another idea that floats around in my mind. So I do like the concept of possibly getting into it at some stage. So was that your goal from the start? Did you always kind of have in mind that you wanted to shoot a feature?
Yeah, I always wanted to do drama. I guess, film school really only teaches you that, to be honest. It's very like film analysis, and that's kind of the road that they show you to, like, which is quite detrimental, I think, like we weren't taught anything about reality TV or even commercial space, to be honest. So I think it should be wider. I think film students should be taught all the different parts of the industry and all the paths they can take. So I guess just doing all the film studies made me naturally think, oh, well, I'd love to make films. But then it's also like feels quite unrealistic. There's a very small percentage of directors that get to direct long form, whether that's drama or features. So it was always in the back of my mind. It's always what I wanted to do. And it was just a matter of trying to find what the stepping stones were to get there, because everyone you talk to kind of took a different route and got there a different way. And it can be quite confusing to navigate. You know, I've had a lot of conversations with other up and coming filmmakers over the past few months, this whole COVID time, which I think, you know, as you were saying, like COVID kind of forced you to put more time and energy into like these avenues and getting this off the ground. And I think that's kind of a positive to come out of COVID for sure. But yeah, I've been having that conversation with other filmmakers about how to get there. And it was when I moved back from London that I thought, you know, there's so much reality TV. I could just go reality job after reality job and continue on this path. And I thought, no, if drama is what I really want to do, now's the time to take a step back from reality and start finding how I can move into drama. So it was a very conscious decision for me to sort of put my energy and attention there. And yeah, I was lucky that it came to fruition.
Yeah. So when you say put your energy and attention, you talked about people going down different routes. How did it play out for you? Like, what were the pieces that led to that final situation where you were given the opportunity? Did you pitch? Did you have a script that you pitched, or how did it get going?
Yeah, so I guess for me, I have a producer, James Greville, who I work with a lot, who owns Two Little Films, used to be Two Olympians. And, you know, it's this whole thing of like, no one's going to let you direct drama until you've directed drama. And you're like, well, how am I going to fucking direct drama? Like, it's, you know, you're kind of stuck at a crossroads. So I thought, right, well, the only way for me to direct drama is for us to write it, shoot it, put it on the web, you know, make a web series, basically. So he was really on board with that as well. And I always think, like, you know, it's a timing thing. Like, we didn't have many commercials on, so it kind of allowed us to, like, well, we're not shooting any commercials, let's make a web series. So he and I sat down and we co-wrote a web series called Tumbling, largely based on me and my sisters.
It's interesting. As having watched the trailer, there's some very funny moments. I mean, particularly the opening scene. Yeah, that's definitely one way to get people's attention. I was just like, hang on, what's going on here? And then she's like pointing the vibrator at her. Everyone, you've got to watch. You've got to go to Hayley's website just to watch the teaser trailer for Tumbling, because it has a lot of funny moments.
Well, yeah, we were, you know, James kind of said, it was like, what do you know, if you're going to shoot anything, you know, sorry, my husband's literally just come in the room.
Hey, mate, how you going?
Yeah, you know, it was like, well, we can make whatever we want to make. So what, you know, if you want to make anything, what do you want it to be, basically? And I kind of thought, you know, I'm really drawn to female content with strong female leads and something that kind of feels honest for me and relatable. So we ended up writing this series about me and my sisters. I mean, I had just moved back from London. My eldest sister had just had a baby. The middle sister had just broken up with her boyfriend and moved in with the older sister with the baby. So it was all there in front of us, basically. So it was a lot of fun to write. And we basically then thought, we'll shoot a pitch trailer and we'll try and sell it. So we shot that pitch trailer. And, you know, I think it's funny how things sort of take a path of their own. We haven't sold it. We didn't manage to sell it, but it served a lot of other purposes, and it's led me to meet a lot of other people. And I would say that by shooting that trailer and having that content to show people, it's introduced me to really great executive producers who I'm now developing feature films with. And it also gave me content that when the Steve Jaggy company were looking for a director for their latest feature film, you know, I was able to show that I directed, you know, some more drama. Like, even though we didn't make the series, it was still, you know, 3 minutes of decent drama content. So it kind of served a different purpose to what I initially thought it would. But it was really helpful, I think, and it was really fundamental in helping me get the feature film.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just wanting to bring up just some of the footage so people could get a little bit of a feel. Again, with this bloody capture card and it not working and me fiddling around with all these things, I've lost the ability to record sound for a moment. So I don't know how to get the sound going, but I'm sure that we could just play some of the footage while we're talking because people could get a bit more of a.
Do you know what? We had a great cast as well. So we had Melina Vidler, she's amazing, Sarah West, and the beautiful, I've forgotten her name, mental blank, Elise McCain.
Elise McCain. Yeah. It's shot in Brisbane. Oh, can you hear that audio?
No.
You can't hear it. No.
Oh, yeah, I can hear it.
Oh, you can?
It's very like staggered though. It's not playing like smoothly.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it just, I don't think there's enough content out there that's like this, that's like just relatable, real female characters.
Yeah, I love this this sister. Which sister are you, out of interest? Is this you?
No, that's the middle sister, who is the prettiest, I will have you know. She did actually start a one-woman crossbow show. There's a lot of it that's truthful. I'm the youngest, so I'm played by Sarah West, who I would say was the hardest to write because I was like, it's hard to be, that sort of reflective, and I think that character is probably the least truthful to real life.
Yeah, easier to air like some of your other sisters' stories. But hey, look, I think it's great, and hopefully somebody does pick it up. I think it would do really well because people they love that sort of thing where it's just a bit more sort of real life.
We've had a really great response to it. So many people have said they would love to watch it, and even the networks and stuff that we sort of showed it to, they all loved it. But there's kind of this sense of like, oh, but we've already got another show that's got female leads. We've already ticked that box, and it's like, oh, right, so we can only have one show on each network that has a set of female leads. I think we're still trying to pave the way in that regard.
Yeah, right. So I mean, there's a lot of different scenes in that short trailer. So how much work was that to pull all of that together?
We pulled that together really quick. I think we pre-productioned it in about a week and a half. We shot it over 2 days. And then, we posted it over probably a month.
Yeah, nice.
And that was, favors from everyone. Post-production house did it as a complete favor. Most of the crew, worked for piddles or for free. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Awesome. Now let's see how that then flowed into. So that's how you end up with Steve Jaggy for the what's now been picked up by Netflix series that's going to be coming out. When is that scheduled or slated to appear?
So we're in pre-production at the moment on this Netflix drama called Dive Club. I'm shooting block 2. And we're in pre-production now. Block 1 starts shooting in 2 weeks, I think, up in Port Douglas. So I've got another week in Brisbane before I travel up to Port, and it's full steam ahead.
Yeah, nice. And then talk to us about Swimming for Gold. Maybe if you could give everyone a little bit of a rundown firstly on what the story's about, and then talk to us about how it came to be and your experience, I guess, of pulling it all together.
Yeah, so Swimming for Gold is a teen film that we made for My Vista in the States that ended up selling to Universal, which was great. And that sort of came about because the Steve Jaggy company was in Sydney, I believe, and they sort of moved up to Queensland, and they had the script already. They had the funding on board. They just needed a director. And to get, Screen Queensland were really supportive of their moving and also of the film. And so they really wanted to push for a Queensland director. So they kind of got a list of Queensland directors, and from what I understand, they sort of met with each of us and then sort of chose. So I mean, I was extremely lucky. I feel like that film kind of landed on my lap. But at the same time, I think, we do things and we make decisions throughout our career that put us in a position for that to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So, they basically offered me the film, and it was full steam ahead. I think it was we went into pre-production 4 weeks later. And we shot it this time last year, and it's just been released in cinemas a few weeks ago.
Yeah, awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And how's it going so far?
Yeah, it's doing well, I think. It's, it's my first film in cinemas, so I don't really have much to compare it to. Like I said to the producers, I'm like, what do we hope this even makes? I don't even know what a ballpark is. And the goal that they had set, I think it's just clocked that in cinemas. So that's a really positive sign, and we've had really positive feedback from people. Obviously it's hard to release a film in COVID times. When people are going to the cinema, people don't even really know if it's open. But, at the same time, I think we're really lucky that we were able to still release it in cinemas. There's a lot of films that have gone straight to platform. So it's been nice to kind of go and watch it with kids and hear them laugh and see their reactions and talk to them afterwards. And I think just to be in the same room as people when they watch it, I think it's really valuable as a director to know what they're responding to. So I'm really grateful being able to release it still.
Yeah. Was it a bit nerve-wracking, to go and sort of for the first time sitting down with an audience and seeing, how they're going to respond?
Yeah, it was actually. It was. I actually didn't invite too many of my own friends because I was it's a lot of pressure. It's a bit I guess a lot to, I don't know, you feel quite vulnerable, I guess. So the first screening was nice because it was a lot of the crew. So we had a lot of the cast and crew who were in Queensland came along. So it was nice to be able to watch it with them. And yeah, it was less scary once the film started rolling. I was like, right, this is fine.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. Yeah, you could almost sort of feel like, okay, well, we have sort of one load of people go through. If you don't have any friends in there and it just bombs tragically, then you can just sort of pretend that it never happened and just
I know exactly. It's
roll on.
Yeah, and I mean the funny thing is as well, my friends will go and see it, and I'm like, just remember, it's it's made for 12-year-olds. It's not made for adults. There's kind of that element because I feel because it is a teen film. I'm kind of worried that people of my age might not enjoy it for that reason. So I'm we're constantly warning people. I'm just channel the 12-year-old in you.
It's definitely not tumbling.
No, yeah. Whole different ballgame.
That's sort of at the other end of the spectrum. That's kind of that was where I was like, okay, yeah, she's not holding any punches here with this one. But, yeah, no, that's really exciting. It's probably be something that my daughter would get into. She's 9, so 9.
Oh, she's perfect.
16. Yeah.
Yeah, take her along.
Yeah. How have the film critics been? Have they been kind, or what's the feedback been like from those guys? Or you haven't tuned into it?
Yeah, they've really surprised me actually. I kind of thought would get hit hard, to be honest. It is kind of like a teeny boppy film, and they do well, but I think Australia has a bit of a culture of things being really serious and dramatic, and I wasn't sure how a teen film made for an American audience would go in Australia, and I've actually found the film critics to be really nice. They've all responded really well to it, and that's been really nice because I just didn't really expect that. I thought we would kind of get hammered a little bit more for sort of buying into, I guess, what teens want, which doesn't make sense, but
it
happens.
Yeah. It's funny because I had Simon Foster on last week, who's a film critic. He's running the Sydney Science Fiction Film Festival. I think maybe he's even just started at the moment down in Sydney, and so yeah, he directed something some time ago, but his most of his career has been in. He's kind of like he was in the production side with Village Roadshow, selling stuff in the early days of DVD and what have you. But then he's been working as a film critic for years and has his own online publication. But I had a mental blank like towards the end I knew there was a question that I had in my mind I was going to ask him about, and I had forgotten, but I've remembered it now, and it was. Just essentially whether or not he feels like he's treated like as a friend or an enemy, like with directors. Like, have you had much to do with any film critics directly, and how have you kind of felt about them?
Yeah, I've done just a few interviews, and they've all been lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, hopefully I'll continue to make films, and I'm sure I'll get really critiqued down the pipeline, but it doesn't really scare me, to be honest. I just think you can never make something that everyone likes, and if you do make something that everyone likes, then is it even any good? Do you know what I mean? So I think people not liking stuff that I make doesn't actually bother me at all. As long as I feel like there's an audience that does like it, then that's all that really matters. So
yeah,
I don't think I'm not one of the people that's going to cry myself to sleep because it got a bad review.
yeah.
Especially not by someone that's never made a film. I think it's there's that element as well.
100%. Yeah. I get that. I've had a crack at a few different ventures now, and a couple of them weren't terribly successful, and I feel a bit of like that kind of shade or heat, whichever way you want to, whatever lingo you want to use, but I feel like a bit of that kind of coming from my my long-term friendship circle of like, oh, okay, here he goes, he's off on some other crazy adventure, like, like, when's he going to stop trying to do these ridiculous things? But the way I look at it is that, if every super successful entrepreneur has 2 or 3 failures before they have their breakthrough, then I'm 2 or 3 failures closer to to my breakthrough. And like you're saying, I find it very ironic when people who have never run their own business feel quite happy to speak about how you should or shouldn't be doing things.
Yeah, and I don't really believe in failure. Even if you make something or a business technically fails, or you make a film that people think is shit, like, you will have learnt something from that regardless. You will have learnt something, and it will have been a stepping stone that gets you to the next thing anyway. So I think, making content, like, that's half of the fun. Like, for me, I enjoy making stuff more than I enjoy it kind of going out in the world, if that makes sense. It's like, it's about the process, and it's about working with other people and being creative. And if it's shit and it flops, then, we learnt stuff along the way. So keep making stuff.
That's it. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a very good attitude. So for the foreseeable future, is Dive Club, I guess, going to be the sole thing that you're focused on, or are you continuing to develop other things? I know that on your website it had mentioned, I believe, another feature that you kind of have in mind. So take us through what that looks like. Is it an ever-evolving kind of situation, and you should have like the slate of different kind of potential projects, I guess, at your fingertips, in case you have the right conversation with the right person at the right time?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I think, like, being a freelancer, you never really know. Like, I couldn't tell you what my year next year looks like because I'm attached to different projects, and I know there's different reality shows that are shooting, but everything kind of books in like last minute, to be honest. So that's kind of the way I like to live. I like to not know what's around the corner. I really thrive on that. So basically for me, I'm in pre-production now on Dive Club. That will take me up until Christmas, shooting that, doing post-production. I'm then having a baby in December, so let's just
Yeah.
throw that in the mix.
Yes.
And then next year, so I'm attached to 3 feature films at the moment that are all sort of in development. But, you know, when they shoot and when they get off the ground, and like when that, they kind of they have a life of their own, they sort of snowball along. So, you know, I would absolutely love to be shooting at least one of those next year, if not 2. That's sort of really my goal, for next year. And then, you know, sometimes I might just pick up some reality in between, make some bread and butter. So, yeah, it just depends, really. You know, we might do a season 2 of Dive Club, but technically it's all yet to be booked in, so we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely. I mean, it keeps things definitely keeps things interesting. And so you talked about James as kind of a long-running producer partner, or someone who you've done quite a lot of work with. Is he involved with these features as well?
Yeah, he is. So one of them he will be coming on to produce, and the other one he's actually written. So it's an idea that we developed together, and then he's gone away and written. And it's a beautiful script about 2 old ladies on a road trip to Nimbin. So nice. I hope we can make that one. It'll be a real cracker.
Yeah. That sounds like that definitely sounds like a bit of fun, some hijinks. Well, look, hey, it's been so nice chatting to you. Thank you for making this happen and for taking some time to come and have a chat. And congratulations again on where you've gotten to. I'm keen to get to the cinema. Hopefully, it's showing up here. I live at Moffat Beach, so we're up at Caloundra. And the great thing about the cinema here is it's only $10 a ticket. $10. That's the way it should be forever, I think.
Gotta take your daughter.
Yeah. So I might have to check it out and take her along. And look, hey, I always like to tell people a little bit about what I'm doing with Flix for Good. So I'll tell you a little bit about that too, because honestly, I hope that should things come to fruition, then, who knows, there might come a day where we're having a different conversation and I've got a streaming platform running and we can actually talk about, commissioning something. Because ultimately Flix is a video streaming service that's set up with social enterprise, I guess, at its foundation. So the mandate of that is really simply that you give at least half of your profit to the different causes that you support. And the goal will be to raise money and awareness for different people and causes all over the world, nominated by the subscribers. So currently, and obviously these things can always change, but the thought process is that it'll be supported by ad revenue. And I'm just going to try and have a very frank and open but playful conversation with the public and say, hey, you know what? Everybody decided they hated ads. They ran away from ads. Nobody likes shit ads. Directors don't like making shit ads. So let's maybe foster that side of things and watch maybe 1, 2, take a couple on the chin, and then you've got content and you've got money going to the causes that you support. So that's really the dream.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great idea. I'll stick to it.
Yeah, thank you. So we've just, but as you would know, what I now need is a bucket load of cash. So I need, I'm working towards doing a big awareness and crowdfunding initiative to try and get a lot of dollars coming in and get some people, I guess, pre-subscribing. The goal is for it to be free, and the ultimate dream is that we can provide it to countries all over the world and essentially deliver educational resources converted in their language, not like in writing but in spoken word, as alongside the entertainment content. So you could have movies, documentaries, and have maybe, say, curated content from some of the top producers in places like YouTube that have good information about how people could better themselves. And so hopefully maybe some person with a smartphone in India or somewhere else could watch something, get some ideas, and maybe go out and make a better lives for themselves. So that's sort of that's the dream. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, stick to it. I've got a friend, Sam Label, who's just started a streaming platform in Australia that's focused on female content, so female filmmakers and content that has really strong female leads. And I think there's so much space for it. I don't think there's we've got space for so many different streaming platforms because they all have their own content. So I think it's great. I think we need more of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the predictions are that it's going to go from, I think it's almost $50 billion a year in global revenue. Streaming contributes to the entertainment industry, and they predict that by 2024 that'll be 688.7 billion. That does include gaming, my esports, mind you. It's mind blowing, isn't it? And that was so this part of how Flix was born. Flix for Good is. And I should do my diligence here and pop that up as well. But so yeah, the reason that it really came about was I saw my business kind of get squashed, and I just thought about all the people around the world who potentially would see themselves possibly out of work with no job, no money, because 70% of people spend what they earn, so running out of money real fast, and even if they're on big dollars, and potentially with a whole bunch of overheads and mouths to feed. And that was before the stimulus came in. I just thought, wow, what's going to happen? I just started trying to think, how could I help this situation in my own way? And I thought, well, I don't, as much as I'm concerned about suicide spiking, I'm concerned about domestic violence, and I still am. I'm only one person, so I really thought, well, there are already people out there doing great work. What they need is money, and then they need awareness. What are my tools? And I'm well, I love the entertainment industry, and I've got knowledge around a few different bits and pieces, and I've learnt my way around some things. I wouldn't say I'm an expert in marketing, but I've got some ideas. And then I just looked at all that money going to entertainment at the same time, and it kind of just sickened me a little bit. I thought, surely we could just take a piece of that, and create some money. And I think my hope is that if we could get the content on par with the other guys, and then you've also got that social purpose tied into it, and you've also got the ability for people to be able to donate over the top, so they can flick money to the causes that they like. If they watch a little doco or something and they like it, they can hit a button and send some money in that direction. Why wouldn't people choose to jump on board?
Yeah, that's great. Good on you. I'll look out for it.
Yeah, look out for it. It's a work in progress. Hey, thanks so much. We've clocked the hour. I always like to try to wrap it up within the hour because I know it's a big ask for people. Normally, most people tend to watch things on the replay, and I'm toying with the idea of doing a bit of a Joe Rogan and slicing it up into little pieces as well so that we can sort of spread it out. But look, I'll definitely be tracking. I'll be hoping to go see Swimming for Gold, and I really look forward to seeing where the rest of your career goes.
Thanks, Brad. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thanks. Nice to talk to you. See ya.
You too.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Make sure you do all the good things. You know what to do. Subscribe, like, share. Get excited. Why not? Go outside your comfort zone. Hit the share button and share it with somebody who you know. And I look forward to chatting with you again next week. All right. Everybody.